Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Aklon here, and of course, welcome back to each and every one of you. Now, today's video is about 10.1, and why, as story nerds, we should be very hyped for this expansion. I'm not going to go into gameplay and stuff like that too heavily, because there are a lot of gameplay changes and a lot of things being added to the gameplay, but there's channels that do that for a living. I prefer to focus on story, because that really, I think, is where my talents lie and also where my love for World of Warcraft lies. So that's what I want to talk about, the things that we have to look forward to. There's also already a number of videos that I have lined up for you guys about speculation going into 10.1 and what I think we're about to find there, because just what we've been told so far sparks mad speculation on Deathwing, Neltharion, the Black Dragonflight, and so on and so forth. So first and foremost, remember, if you like this channel, if you like lore, remember to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and if you want some extra naughty, spicy hentai, head over to Patreon. $1 a month gets you access to all content. It's always very much appreciated. With that said, let's jump into it. Alright, so first and foremost, patch 10.1 will take place primarily inside Zaralak Cavern. Zaralak Cavern, of course, is opened by Farak, the Fire Incarnate. He breaks through, and we discover this entire zone underneath the Forbidden Reach. Remember, when you think back to the pages of Deathwing or Neltharion, it is said, or Adamanthia actually, the writings that she, when she wrote to Neltharion, the Forbidden Reach was meant to keep dragons away. No one was ever to discover what is underneath the Forbidden Reach. Zaralak Cavern apparently is sort of a very primordial realm. It is 100% connected to the Dragon Isles. There's no loading screens in between. We've already been told that there's new tech that allows them to do that. And then, of course, inside Zaralak Cavern, we find Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible, the new 9-man raid. Now, this is where things get extra spicy, because this is also the secret laboratory of Deathwing, or Neltharion, and also happens to be the place where Neltharion ultimately fell to the whispers and madness of the old gods. Before we get into it, though, I want to talk just a little bit about the philosophy that World of Warcraft has now, and why I'm super excited for it. In the past, World of Warcraft really, a lot of the stories felt particularly rushed. We've spoken about this before, where the story would be introduced, sort of build and conclude within a single patch cycle. And for some stories, that really works. You don't really need much more than that. But then there are those stories where, it almost doesn't feel as if this story had, did any justice to the character. A story that comes to mind here would be the story of N'Zoth in 8.3. Obviously, this was a massive complaint for all of us at the time. Now, Blizzard have changed their philosophy quite substantially since then. We now have these weird 10.07 patches, or 0.7 patches, or 0.7 patches, if you will. These patches are now confirmed to be prologue patches. So in 10.07, we will be introduced to the story that will primarily take place in 10.1. So everything in 10.07 is a prelude to 10.1, and I love that idea. Mainly because it works very well for hype creation. You see a story that you're gonna get hyped for, and you're really hyped to see the next bit of it, but you can't access the next bit. So it really allows for that nice rhythm of, I'm really hyped, my hype starts to sort of calm, and then just before the next patch launches, maybe see a massive cinematic, and you're right back into that hype. So I love the idea behind this. I specifically like also the usage of Renown, and how Renown now sort of serves as the conclusionary part of the story. In many ways, the Renown stories that we unlocked in base DF were conclusions to stories that already started in 10.0. And I like that. I like the way Renown cheats the system. So what do I mean by cheating the system? There are two ways to tell a living story. One is to actually have a living, adaptable world, so when you do things in the world, you can see the world adapt. And this can sometimes take a while, right? So it's a slow process, but the world does adapt and react to you, and this really does a lot for immersion. The other is sort of a cheat way, and that's renown. And I never thought that it was possible, but renown does do that. And I literally realized this yesterday as I was gaining renown with, I think it was the Valdraken. I leveled up with the Valdraken, and I had this weird feeling. I felt stronger. I felt like I had achieved something. Even though I technically didn't achieve anything, it's just a number that goes up. It cheated my brain into thinking I had achieved something. Now, in my RP world, renown is trust. And the way I view it is most of these characters, most of these creatures in Dragonflight do not know me. So they're not willing to share their secrets with me right off the bat. Renown is my trust system. The higher my renown, the more trust they have towards me, which means they'll eventually share their more sensitive stories with me. The more sensitive parts of who they are. And I love that. And I think everyone has their own view, sort of in an RP way, of what renown actually is. But to me, that is what renown is, and it makes it feel less time-gatey. Even though it is just 100% time-gate, it doesn't feel like time-gate, because it feels like I'm working towards it, rather than just arbitrarily waiting for it. So, I love this. Just from a philosophical standpoint, I think Blizzard is doing a wonderful job. Let's turn our attention now to Aberrus, the Shattered Crucible, which I think is going to be one of the most important places in World of Warcraft, at least in a very long time. I don't think we've had something quite as important as Aberrus. Now, Aberrus is a secret laboratory where Deathwing, or Neltharion at the time, did experiments. And we know that Neltharion enjoyed experiments. Now, I already have a video planned for this specific dive into how Neltharion ultimately succumbed to madness, so I'm not going to be spoiling it here. But I do want to give you a little bit of a teaser to it, I guess. There's two ways that Neltharion ultimately fell to the Whispers. The one is the direct way. The old gods kept whispering, and we know the way their whispers work. If you don't find a way to block their whispers, their whispers will ultimately start melding with your reality. And this is really what we were told in the beginning. That's how Neltharion fell and became Deathwing. As they whisper, it becomes harder and harder to sort of dissociate or discern between what is reality and what is the whispers. And then eventually you succumb fully to the madness of the old gods. That is apparently not how it happened. So there is a little bit of a retcon here, although not really a retcon, but kind of a retcon, where instead it was inside this lab that Neltharion ultimately fell to void corruption. The second way, rather than the slow and steady losing your mind, bit by bit approach, would be a choice. Now, we know Neltharion made the choice to invoke the power of the old gods very much willingly. He was losing to Razageth, his Titan artifact had been broken, and in a moment of desperation, he called upon the powers of the Old Ones to maybe save Azeroth, or save himself, or something to that effect. But it could also be that Neltharion discovered something. Discovered a truth. A truth the Titans never wanted them to have. And this truth is what ultimately led him to choose the old gods over the gifts of the Titans. Again, just sort of whetting your appetites. I'll have a video explaining in a lot more detail and also providing evidence for my claims. But I do think it's exciting. The other thing that we have to look forward to is, of course, the story of the blue Dragonflight. That is continuing. We're finally going to learn what happened to all the blue dragons. Why didn't all of them return? This, of course, Caligos Sindragosa will take us through that story. And I don't know about any of you guys, but Sindragosa, yes, please. She's hot, bro, and she's really cool. So I'm really, really looking forward to more Sindragosa, more Caligos storyline, and specifically want to know about the Blue Dragons. Remember, Blue Dragons, they got a sense of exploration, and they're incredibly genius, incredibly intelligent, but also intuitive and very much a seeking species. This they got from their father, Maligos. He was like this even as a proto-drake. Very inquisitive, very much wanted to figure out how things worked. And you sort of get the idea in Dawn of the Aspects that he almost got frustrated because at that point he wasn't intelligent enough to figure some things out, but he realized that there is something that he's not understanding, even though he's not intelligent enough yet to understand what it is that he's not understanding. So they're incredibly inquisitive, and they remember at the end of really Wrath of the Lich King, the Blue Dragons left. They sort of flew off in their own directions and discovered, as they're wont to do. But now a lot of them have not returned, and the question is, why have they not returned? And then, of course, the other story to be really hyped for is Rathian, Sibelian, and Abyssian. All three of these will be making a return. Abyssian right now just helping the Drakthir, helping the Drakthir figure out who they are and where they fit into this new world. And then, of course, Rathian and Sibelian still wanting to gun it out for who's going to be the ultimate aspect and who's going to win out. And I have a feeling that Embers of Neltharion may actually answer that once and for all. The actual aspect of the Black Dragonflight will be decided, I think, in Embers of Neltharion, since unless we have all of the aspects now chosen and ready, I don't think the story can really progress for Dragonflight. So there's really a lot for us to look forward to in this expansion. I want to hear from you what you are most excited for, and it doesn't just have to be story stuff. You could also just be excited for, you know, gameplay stuff and all the rest of it. Let me know, please, in the comment section down below. Your comments are always read and very much appreciated. Remember to hit the like button, the subscribe button. It helps the channel out a ton. And then, for some ultra naughty hentai stuff, grab yourself a $1 patronage to the channel for all of that content, and of course, a lot more content in the future. To all of the patrons and YouTube members, thank you so much for your support. It should go without saying, but I will say it anyways. Without you, videos like this and this channel would no longer exist, so I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be kind to each other, be good to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace out, fam.